Want to know how to make the best of your time in Reykjavik? Well, in this video, we're going to try most of the recommendations from the New York Times 36 Hours in Reykjavik article and see if they're worth your time. But we think there's more to this charming capital than what the New York Times has to say, so we brought in a local guide to help uncover some of the city's hidden gems. I'll let him explain why beer was banned in Iceland until 1989. And as a bonus, we have 3 great adventure activities that are a short drive from the city. And we'll end with the quintessential Icelandic experience. It's only 10 minutes from Reykjavik. The New York Times' first suggestion is the iconic Hallgrímskirkja. And for good reason, this church is gorgeous. The distinctive vertical architecture represents the basalt columns found around Iceland and is probably the most recognized building in Reykjavik. For me, this is a can't miss if you come to Reykjavik. If you have the stamina, climb to the top of the tower and get a bird's eye view of the city. Next up on the Times list is my favorite building in Iceland, the Harpa Concert Hall, home to Iceland's Symphony Orchestra and winner of the Mies van der Rohe Prize for Contemporary Architecture. I love the exterior of the building, but I think it's the interior that's really special. If you want to stay on the waterfront and near the concert hall, check out our video about the Reykjavik edition. Another Times recommendation, and this one left me scratching my head, is 12 Tónar, a record store and gathering spot for local musicians with live music performances on Friday afternoons. It's a 3 out of 10 in my book, but if you're into vinyl or hit this place when there's live music, then maybe it's a 7. In the mood for a drink? The Times recommends the Kaldi Bar to sample local brews, a perfectly charming little place that was buzzing and friendly. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. The Times also recommends a place called Microbar. I checked it out in the afternoon and it looked hella average, so I didn't come back. There are tons of other cool bars in the city that have popped up since the Times wrote its article. In part 2, our local guide will take us to the best local brewery. After all that beer, the Times thinks that you might need a hangover cure in the form of a hot dog. Everyone told me before I left for Iceland that the food here sucks. But I was here for 3 weeks and I disagree. I thought it was pretty good. Let's see if this place meets Iceland's new high standards. I guess I just want a hot dog with everything?
Okay. One.
I'm sorry, but does this look like the best hot dog in Iceland? Maybe it is, but I don't know, I'm skeptical. Okay, that was totally overrated. I would give that like a 4 out of 10. I've had better hot dogs at baseball games. All right, let's work off those hot dogs with a 2-mile round-trip walk from downtown Reykjavik out to this beautiful lighthouse. On a nice day, there are great views of the water and the mountains, and exercise is always a good thing. So this gets an 8 out of 10. Next on the Times list, the Mokka-Kaffi. It specializes in waffles, and it was busy and a bit hard to get a seat. But was that because of the notoriety from the New York Times article, or because the waffles are great? My verdict on the waffles is they are just fine. I'll give them a 5 out of 10, but nothing that special, and I wouldn't go out of my way. I think what's going on is Reykjavik has evolved since the New York Times article came out, and I think the food scene is probably better than it used to be. The Times says that Reykjavik punches above its weight when it comes to art, and I think that's right. They recommend I-8 Gallery, which is close to the waterfront, but to me, art galleries are kind of hit and miss depending on whose art they're showing at the time, so I won't rate this one. Just 3 blocks down is the Reykjavik Art Museum's Contemporary Collection, housed in this Art Deco warehouse. All right, not super impressive from the outside, but it's what's inside that matters, right? And I think they've made great use of this space. I love the high ceilings and the finishes. And beyond the architecture, there are some really interesting modern pieces, so if you're an art lover, this is definitely worth a visit. The Times also recommends some street art around the corner.
Okay, I guess this is it.
Not tons to see here, but don't despair. Later, our local insider will show us where the real street art lives in Reykjavik. Before we introduce you to our local guide, the New York Times makes 2 hotel recs. The first is Hotel 101. We 100% agree with this one. Check out our video that shows you why this is Reykjavik's best design hotel. The Times also recommends the Kex Hotel, and we did go check it out as part of the 20 hotels we visited in Iceland to find the 8 best. But we think there are better budget options. The place does have a shabby chic vibe, so if you're looking for more of a backpacker experience, this is probably a good option. This is Lali, a native of Reykjavik, and he's going to be our guide for this next section and show us insider stuff that most tourists don't know about. He's with a tour company called Funky Iceland that's super professional and knowledgeable, and that I'd highly recommend. I did not get paid to say that.
And action! So, here we are at the Museum of Einar Jónsson. He was the most talented sculptor in Icelandic history.
Jónsson was a prolific sculptor and artist, and this place has 3 floors chock-a-block full of his amazing work. There's also this garden in the back that featured some of his bronze works. And here's how Reykjavik looked 100 years ago, when this museum, that used to be Jonsson's home, was built for him by the government to incentivize him to stay in Iceland and keep churning out art. You'll also find Jonsson's work scattered all over the city, so the museum's worth a stop if you want to understand Iceland better, or just see some cool art.
If you walk around Reykjavik long enough, you will find these murals all over the place where artists have been given a license to paint the whole wall. We had a mayor in 2010 that started this trend, asking people to donate walls for artists to paint. This is Válastígur, one of my favorite paths here, or alleys in Reykjavik. Very narrow, colorful, has like a different atmosphere here. And there's hardly anyone that comes here except the people that live here. This little lake here is called Tjörnin. It literally means the pond. So this is the pond of Reykjavik, and everything started to form around this little lake here.
If you're up for another stroll, consider a walk around not just the lake, but also the pleasant residential area west of the lake to see some local architecture and bits of the city that 99% of tourists miss.
Here we are at the oldest neighborhood in Reykjavik. All the buildings here are really old. Well, 100 years, 120, 30, 40 years. The reason why we have these different styles of houses in Reykjavik, or the old wooden houses, is quite simple. They were all bought from abroad. We would buy prefixed houses from Norway, Denmark, Switzerland, or even Russia. And that's why you have these different styles of the old wooden houses here in the center, all depending on where they came from. Whenever you see a house like this here in the center, totally covered in corrugated iron, that usually means that it's a wooden house. The iron is the best material we have found to protect the wood. So if you don't have it, you have to be oiling and painting every other year just to keep it in shape.
So Lali, I read something that I'm sure is not true in the New York Times.
Yeah.
And they said that beer was illegal in Iceland until 1989.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
It's true.
So beer, was illegal in Iceland until 1st of March 1989. And there are still people today who go out on March the 1st to celebrate the beer day and drink beer. And if you think that's bad, most of the 20th century candy was illegal in Iceland as well.
Oh my.
And dogs were illegal in Reykjavik until 2002. Yeah,
dogs. Dogs, candy, and beer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you might wonder why. Simple answer, we just hate ourselves. That's it. Yeah, all thanks to these guys working
Right,
here.
and this is
That's
Parliament. Oh, by the way, we're at Parliament.
They decide what we are allowed
Yeah.
and not to do.
Speaking of stupid laws, we've got Parliament right behind us.
Yeah.
Great. All right, let's go find the best brewery in Reykjavik.
Here we are at Skúli Craft Bar, named after the father of Reykjavik, Skúli Magnússon. And we are going to try a few locally brewed beers here from microbreweries. Yeah.
After visiting Iceland's Parliament and the square, you're less than a 5-minute walk to the city's dining and nightlife center. But if you want to stay near Parliament, check out our video about the Kosovan Hotel. The charming city center has tons of restaurants, cafes, and bars. Reykjavik is pretty small, and you could probably walk the perimeter of the city center in under an hour. But this is where you'll find most tourists and most of the city's nightlife. I don't know about you, but I can't think of too many things more relaxing than a warm bath in nature. That's right, we're talking about Iceland's 1,000-year-old tradition of thermal bathing at the Sky Lagoon that's only 10 minutes from the city center. Sitting in these thermal pools, you feel like you're hundreds of miles from anything, not 10 minutes from downtown. Okay, the place has a tiny feeling of being a bit too perfect. It kind of feels man-made. But with this view, the warm water, and a swim-up bar, a lot's forgiven.
You know, I don't really need a beer right now, but I can't resist in this setting.
Yo, New York Times, how did you miss this indulgence? Anyway, another great option that's a bit farther out of the city is the Blue Lagoon Baths and Spa. Our video about that experience is here. If you want to go a little bit out of the city for some outdoor adventure, check out our Greenhouse Hotel video where we show you how to enjoy some mountain biking, hiking, and an ATV adventure on Black Sand Beach. And if you're looking for even more adventure, I went on a 1-week expedition through the wilds of Iceland, and the video about that experience is here. Thanks for watching, and see us in the next video.